Hello, fans of ghost stories, haunted history, the macabre, just anything weird under the sun. I am thinking about doing a new type of video, a new type of show, actually, that would be probably once a week. And this one's recorded, of course, but I'm thinking about going live in the future. See, recently I was doing a show for another company that was came on every other week, and before getting into the content, it would start with something very positive, very uplifting, inspirational. That was kind of what we are going for there, to inspire and provide some positivity to your day to start the week. And I took to that so quickly. Better. I tend to be an optimistic person that tries to find the happy, find the joy, even though I work in this space of telling ghost stories, which is all about tragedy and disaster. But I like to shine a light on the wonder of it all, the fact that we live in a magical world still, that we don't know all the answers, in a positive way. So I guess it made sense that doing the show that talked about inspiring things or ideas was a natural fit. We got maybe 3-4 episodes in, and I suddenly had this list of dozens more of things I could talk about, and then the company decided we want to shift, try some new different things, which left me with out that output anymore. Those positive ideas still exist, and I still want to put them out there. So I was trying to figure out, how can I incorporate them into ghost stories? And knowing me, I can incorporate anything into ghost stories, because anything I talk about, I eventually want to circle back to talking about ghost stories. So yeah, that's kind of the idea of what we're doing here. Again, the idea of a weekly show, and we'll start with something very positive, and I'm going to try to find some paranormal spin to put on it. But hopefully you can take something uplifting out of it no matter what. It's also an opportunity for me to respond to comments, because people are constantly leaving comments on YouTube videos or blog posts over at whatsyourghoststory.com. And a little bit of an opportunity to share what I'm up to and what's going on, anything interesting and exciting that you should pay attention to that I'm doing. For example, my partner, Max Sim, and by that I mean my podcast co-host partner from the Fantastic Story Society, our cool little logo there that he made. We just talked to Jen Grisanti, and if you're a fan of the paranormal, you might not know that name, but if you're a fan of television, you definitely you've watched things that she's worked on. She is a consultant for television, has consulted on just countless primetime television shows and mentored so many writers. And so we did a Fantastic Story Society episode where we talked to her. It's not very spooky, but it's all about storytelling, which is, again, it ties in very well with, hey, we like to tell ghost stories. You have to know how to tell a story in general before you can start telling really good ghost stories too, right? So that's the idea there. Definitely check it out if you have any interest in being a writer, or if you just want to become a better storyteller. We talk about a lot of current shows that are on the air right now, including Shrinking, which I love on Apple TV. Anyway, check that out. There's definitely going to be a little bit of a slant towards creativity on this in this show as well. The rest of this channel is still definitely going to be haunted filming locations. It's going to be wild stories about creepy haunted locations. I was just talking with Max today that we want to gear up for visiting more places this coming year, this spring, summer, once it finally fully thaws out and we can go exploring across our haunted state and do some live streams from on location some places. And we want to do more episodes of the Fantastic Story Society with live on location with an audience. So that's something that we're excited about diving into in the future, in the near future. The topic of this one, why I like ghost stories. I thought, let's just start episode 1 with the most basic question. Why do I like ghost stories? And it is actually a very positive answer. And it makes me think of my favorite speech I ever gave, which was at the Galena Paracon 2 years ago, which that's coming up again this time around this spring as well. So look into it if you want to check out the coolest small town in America and go to a paranormal conference at a haunted hotel, the Galena Paracon. But I did a speech there a few years back called The Positive Side of the Paranormal, something along those lines. And it's kind of going to be what a lot of my current book that I'm writing is about. It is all of these positive experiences that are connected to the paranormal and why I do it. And I've got so many different answers for this one, but I'm just going to pick one, which is connecting with everybody. It's the idea that we can tell a ghost story and people love to hear ghost stories. They don't need to believe in it. I should say most of the time. Some people are uh, very against the idea of a ghost story, and I'll say, like, even if you don't believe in it, take the entertainment with you. We all like to be creeped out. We go see The Conjuring. Maybe that's a bad example because that's supposed to be based on a true story. But has anybody seen Talk to Me? That's the most recent horror movie that really scared the hell out of me. Nobody's claiming that's real. And I'm sure the vast majority of people buying a ticket to go see that movie uh, don't believe you can touch a severed, mummified hand and then communicate with the other side and risk being possessed. I think most people buying that ticket aren't believing in the story, but you're still going for the entertainment value, the joy of being creeped out by a good, scary story. And that's how I try to approach telling scary stories as well. If you're in my audience, if you are on a tour that I'm giving, I don't expect everybody on that tour or in that audience to believe in ghost stories, but they're there because they want to hear some cool stories. And that's something that we can connect on. I love that I can talk to just about anybody about a ghost story. And at the end of it, I can hear their ghost story. They can hear mine. We can compare notes. And at the end of it, I don't care who they voted for. They don't care who I'm going to vote for. Um, Keep politics and all that other stuff out of it, but we can all still connect on telling scary stories. That's something that I leaned on when the pandemic happened. I started a weekly conversation during those lockdown days, those dark days of 2020. And before even getting into the ghost story part, I would put a question out there to people on social media that had nothing to do with politics, for sure. It had nothing to do with ghost stories. It had everything to do with the fact that we all connect on so many of the same things. I remember my favorite question I asked was, "What is the strangest thing that just you can't find at the grocery store right now?" Because we were having all these weird supply chain hiccups, and different people in different places had just certain odd items that were just never being restocked. And but I could talk about more general things as well. What's your favorite the best vacation you ever took, your favorite TV show on the air, your favorite YouTuber. Nobody said me, by the way. But all of these other things that prove that, okay, we can connect on ghost stories, but we can connect on a lot more than just that. And then I would go into my talk. And I thought that was in that charged time, which at first we were all on the same page. And then we got fractured, of course. News media, I have got lots to say on what's wrong with news media. But the idea is connection. Like I said, I want to bring up some comments that I haven't responded to. And this is actually from one of those pandemic era shows, episode 15. So this was 15 weeks in to doing this. And I just got a comment today, or 2 days ago, from No One Puts Fishy in the Corner. I am from Wisconsin, and I will tell you, I've been to the Fox Valley area visiting friends, and Lake Winnebago has a lot of weird movement that is not from fish, and it would have to be an animal that's bigger than a sturgeon, which, by the way, only in Wisconsin will you find people just casually referencing a sturgeon, because we do know what those are. Massive fish, almost like a marlin in size. So I'm trying to remember everything I talked to in this episode, and I see Wisconsin cryptids was one of my topics early on. So I'm in Madison, by the way, Madison, Wisconsin. And we talk about everything, by the way. I like to talk about everything. I traveled the country. I've lived in Hawaii and Los Angeles and Arizona, and traveling all over the place for work and for fun. And just last year, going out to Portugal, going out to Ireland, and visiting haunted or bizarre sites out there. Nothing I love better. By the way, I love that Weird Al is making a little cameo in the right corner of my screen here. But I guess you can get some idea of my search history based on what you see in the sidebar. So for those who don't know, here is Madison. Madison City on an isthmus. Fairly large size lakes on either side. A few years back, I went out on a boat with a friend, and just out of the blue, I mean, absolutely out of the blue, suddenly we're feeling these huge waves. And like, what in the world was that? I mean, there was no speedboat on the other side of the lake that caused that, nor was there some massive ship, ocean liner, obviously in these little lakes that's going through and could possibly do that. So what in the world happened? And our friend who piloted the boat said, "Yeah, I've come across this a couple of other times. One time it was so extreme, I thought I thought I was going to get flipped, that I was going to capsize. The waves were enormous. And again, these are not insignificant lakes, but they're also not the ocean. It's not Lake Michigan here. And sure enough, we're not at all going to say that this is paranormal, but there is a legend of a Lake Monona, which is this lake down here, monster. And I just poked around and came across this article: Cryptids of Dane County, fabled sea serpents inhabit Madison's waterways. So, and I love that this article, which came out back in 2015, talks to Lisa Van Buskirk, who is one of the members of the Fantastic Story Society. She has been on our show three times now. Actually, the third episode hasn't come out yet, so we do have another episode coming up that we've already recorded. So I'll just go through a little bit of this. She told us the story of a man named J.W. Park, who encountered the beast in the 1860s while rowing on Lake Monona. I just want to make sure I get this right. I always get them wrong. Yeah, so it's the smaller lake, Lake Monona. Approaching what he believed to be a floating log, Park prodded the object with his oar. Immediately, the object disappeared into the depths. The water around Park's dinghy began to bubble. Studying his raft, he reported a large undulating serpent swimming off in the distance. Over the years, reports seem to have come to a consensus on a general appearance of this elusive beast. Witnesses generally describe the serpent as 10 to 20 feet long, with black scales and a head resembling a dogfish with beady red eyes. So this is something that apparently has been seen in Madison for well over 100 years, with some, I guess, bigger times coming in the 1890s. And I love this: a 2008 art exhibit displayed on the frozen waters of Lake Monona, paying tribute to the fabled serpents. I wish I was here to have seen that. That's so cool. So definitely want to ask you if, in addition to Lake Winnebago, which I've never been out there, has anybody ever experienced anything out on the waters and something that you can't explain? And of course, naturally, Wisconsin has all sorts of lore when it comes to Native American history and legends and lore. And I haven't even read this full one, but I hate that I missed this 2 years ago. Bod Energon 5502. Sorry, I missed this comment from a while ago. And also props on the awesome Joker emoji avatar, I should say. This was a fascinating episode. Thank you. I first learned about window areas recently and have been intrigued by them ever since, especially about their mysterious origins. So window areas, which is what the topic of this episode was, and also, honestly, coincidentally, the topic of my most recent speech at the Galena Paracon. These are places, and there's all over the place, and they don't have just one specific type of paranormal trait. So they're not just haunted. They're not just places where people have seen UFOs, not just places where people have had missing time or other bizarre phenomena like that, but places where all of these things are happening. Also cryptids, of course. So I've been meaning to put this on my site. Haven't started it yet, but I want to try to catalog every type of window area location that I can find. Just kind of map them out, and maybe over time we can see some trends. Maybe there's going to be some weird pattern that emerges. We have no idea. That's also something I love about the paranormal, is that every theory is true, or I should say that every theory is possible. It's all theory. We're all trying to figure it out together. Let's see. I've been hiking at one such location occasionally for the last 2 months, Griffith Park, but haven't experienced anything strange, though I don't dismiss the stories. On a further note, there are a few other Griffith Park cryptid encounters worth mentioning in the feature, such as an alleged hairy humanoid, awesome, and pterosaur or dragons. Okay, awesome. Thank you for the tips. And this is something else. Again, it's connecting with people. I love that over the years, I've been able to build up something of a paranormal community. My website used to get just constant comments of people sharing their own stories, commenting on each other's stories. I loved that so much. That was also at a time, the late 90s, early 2000s, when there wasn't as much out there. So I was one of the handful of locations in the earlier days of the internet. But also, sadly, the spam bots came, and they made it so that you had to kind of register in order to be able to comment, which scares people off. It's such a bummer because, for a long time I was getting the same ad for knockoff Oakleys on my website hundreds of times a day until I had to just kind of make comments not open for everybody. It's a bummer, but still, please do reach out. Comment here on YouTube as well. It's a good way to engage still. So I will check these links out. I do want to comment on Griffith Park a little bit. That may be why he found my video here, because I think Griffith Park, Los Angeles. Yeah, this is a place that definitely has a lot of legends and lore about it. Really, it goes back all the way to a curse, the earliest days of inhabitation. You could certainly look up the curse of Griffith Park. It is discussed all over the place, and there's just been so many different types of paranormal activity there, including he mentioned the hairy humanoid that's almost a Bigfoot like creature that is seen there. But yeah, there's been UFO sightings in the area. It is what I would consider a window area, because there's so many different types of hauntings, not just hauntings, but so many different types of paranormal encounters at Griffith Park. It's really fascinating. I was also going to mention that Lake Geneva has a water creature as well, a lake creature. I won't go into it, but it's the stories that have come up have been really, really interesting. I'll leave some links. I did a write-up of the Lake Geneva, Haunted Lake Geneva Ghost Walk, which was really, really cool. Highly recommend it. But also, for this video, and one of the things I really don't like is clickbait. You don't see that with me, and that's probably why I don't have as many viewers, because I tried to avoid that. But I thought it'd be really fun to create a thumbnail image for this, and I have a lot of fun. It's so rare that I find an excuse to use AI image generator, but I thought this would be a fun one, because I'm curious, what would AI think a lake monster in Wisconsin? What would they generate? So let's go ahead and try that, see what happens. I mean, is it going to be coming out of a lake of cheese? Is it going to be wearing one of those Packer cheese wedge hats? We're trying this, a lake monster swimming in Wisconsin and poking its head out of the water. I guess maybe I needed to give it an action. But yeah, oh, interesting. I don't know what this says about Wisconsin, but I was thinking if I could find a creepy, weird enough image, I would be able to use it in the thumbnail, and you could come on this journey with me. And I'm going for it. What else would be Wisconsin? Like, if you were to try to come up with the most cliche ideas of Wisconsin, what would a Wisconsin lake monster look like? There we are. Oh man, how do I pick only one now for the thumbnail? All right, so I'm gonna pick something from one of these. I love that it knew exactly what a cheese hat meant. That is definitely a Wisconsinite lake monster. And one final note, it's not live yet, and I've teased this a little bit already, but we're definitely going to be creating a Patreon page soon. I do free content all the time, and that's fine with me. I love doing it, but to be able to interact with you would be a lot of fun, because I can create stuff through our interactions that are more catered to what you want. I'm still going to always be creating more free stuff, free content, entertainment, sharing research. But the Patreon community will allow me to do more of that. If that can free me up from the day job a little bit, I'm all in favor of that. And maybe it can fund me to do bigger and better things as well. Plus, that community, that kind of interaction we have with a Patreon community, I can create stuff that I know for sure you want to see, because through the Patreon community, you can tell me you want to see it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about the series, this idea, and any comments at all of what you would like to see come from this space in the future. Thanks for watching.